Rich people of Reddit who married someone significantly poorer. What surprised you about their previous way of life? I can answer this one. I did not grow up rich by any means, but I would say my family was upper middle class. My husband was born in Nicaragua and eventually moved to Texas where his mother barely scraped by supporting him and his brother. Some of the things that surprised me: he never eats snacks. Ever. They didn't have food in their kitchen, and he would go hungry sometimes. He said once they had an egg in the kitchen, and he scrambled it and split it with his brother while his mom hungrily looked on. Now as an adult he doesn't understand snacking. If we eat a banana he thinks that is our next meal. Question mark? He is very impressed with smaller things in life. He had one toy as a kid, truck, and now anything I get him, he thinks is the most amazing thing in the world. He saves everything. He is the hardest worker I know. He never wants to be where he was. He is the most grateful, optimistic person I know. We've been having some problems, family drama, trying to sell our house, work stuff, etc. He is not afflicted by any of it. He is cool as a cucumber. He always says, "Did you eat today? Do you have a place to sleep? Does someone love you? Then you are better than most people." I daily love him. He makes me see the world in a different, better way. I'm not rich at all, but my husband came from a very poor Mexican village. He told me he used to shower outside because there was no in-house plumbing and use leaves as toilet paper. I mean, there's poor, and there's my husband's previous life poor. He's been living in the US for 12 years now, but when we first met it was so interesting seeing life through his childlike eyes. Going to the cinema was a huge event for him. Eating food up in a microwave was a totally foreign concept, and staying at fancy hotels when we went on vacation was like whoa. I still see him surprised by things now and then, and it just reminds me how much I take my middle status class for granted. She and her mother lived with her grandfather to not be homeless because her grandfather owned a house. She was putting community college payments on her credit card and building debt with it. I paid off her credit cards when we were dating, and she cried from me being so nice. It was only like $1,300. I bought a condo, then we got married, then we bought a house. I never really considered myself rich until I started dating her and learned that a trip to Wendy's was a treat. I grew up middle class, and we are currently middle class. Heh. I didn't marry this woman, but when we started dating, she always wanted to chill at my place, never hers, which was fine. But she gained 35 pounds in just like a few months of dating. She was 100 pounds when we started dating. Not that it was a bad thing. 1. I'm a chubby man, and 2. I was just glad she wasn't pregnant. Anyway, turns out her family couldn't afford dinner sometimes. So suddenly she had a place to eat every night and gorged herself. My husband grew up in a family where they were comfortable, but on a strict budget. 6 kids and mom on disability. My family had no budget. One day we were at the grocery store and he always insists on walking up and down every aisle. I finally lost it because he was taking so long and asked him why he did it. Growing up we could only spend $100 a week on groceries for all of us. I always had to put what I wanted back because we couldn't afford it. Now I can afford whatever I want, so I like to look at everything I could have. Took him 10 years to tell me this. I felt like a terrible person. He was making good money, but came from a poor family. One thing that surprised me was the lack of budgeting. No knowledge of a 401k/Roth IRA. Retirement seemed like something that he'd never get to do. So even though he made good money, he was starting to rack up credit card debt. Now he's much better at it than I am. He adores budgeting and looks forward to FIRE. Edit. FIRE is financial independence. Retire early. There's a sub attached to this idea r/financial independence. Sorry about the confusion. My experience is from the opposite perspective. I was the poor one. It absolutely floored me how my wife acts when something broke, like a car, appliances, clothes, etc. As a child living below the poverty line, replacing a tire or other necessities was a disaster, requiring tricky trade-offs in the budget, or just plain acceptance of just how boned you were. When my wife's phone broke, I went into full panic mode, while she shrugged and said, "We can just a new one this afternoon." And then we did. Edit. Wow, I have received a lot of responses on this. By far my most upvoted comment. You guys made my day. Thank you. I have seen a few repair it comments. Like many of you, I'm also a Picasso/MacGyver of the duct tape and trash bag world. This skill helped me break into it. Sadly, the phone was beyond repair. Trust me, if I could have fixed it, I would have.